you have programs and you have institutions and all that, and that's where you go to develop your game, right? And rather than relying on, you must play a lot of your kampong, then you become very good, then someone discover you one day, then you go to academy. I'm thinking maybe Singapore's at a stage where we don't have the space to just everybody must have open space to go and play and discover yourself, that kind of thing. But what we can do is maybe have more clearer programs and everything that allow our children to, excel that way. Right?
Terence, you sound like a politician. You someone doing the hands together thing also.
Yeah. The hands together. The Ronaldo interview hands.
Yeah. So what I disagree with that approach is that it's taking a very outcome-focused approach. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor.
Yeah.
Why the emphasis on old, man?
No, nothing. No nothing, special emphasis.
I read too much into it.
You read. It was more. Yeah, your ears wanted to hear the old.
My ears wanted to
specifically.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a nice time of, how you say? I wouldn't say a nice time of year. It does feel like the start. I think last year was a bit confusing because Chinese New Year was very close to the New Year. So it's like little funk where it felt like is it still holiday season or not? I don't know whether it was because after my wedding and I was I don't know.
But the weather, man, weather is yesterday was the coldest.
I loved it.
It's been in Singapore.
Is it?
For a while since this whole period.
What temperature did you hit?
I think it hit 25.
Oh, is it?
Or even late as 24 also.
Wow, but it's a bitch of if you are planning to go out and stuff right?
Yeah, but still, just the idea of it was chilly, man. And having to have blankets and wear extra layers was quite something.
Yeah, has it nice right?
Nice.
And I read reports, I think this first few weeks of January is going to be scorching at times, but also super wet.
Yeah. But so do take care of yourself. I think, as Singaporeans, one thing we take for granted is how your body reacts to changes in temperature. Right? And actually, you think about it, air conditioners have only been around for what? Less than 100 years or whatever, right? So our bodies are not evolved to react to such extreme swings in temperature.
But how extreme is it?
I mean, a few degrees can have an effect on your body. Your body has to work harder to maintain the same temperature. And then my TCM was the one who told me that that actually makes you more susceptible to disease and everything. So that's something Singaporeans take for granted because to us our temperature is the same all year round. Yeah. But last night proved it's not. It can get chilly.
Yeah. And because normal body temperature is 37.6 degrees, right? If it goes to 37.8, right, it's really you just start feeling off.
Yeah. And it's just a little bit 1-2 degrees difference makes a huge difference. So imagine going from scorching hot to air condition, what's the coldest aircon you experienced in Singapore?
I don't know, malls
right? Yeah, but any specific mall?
No, not was it malls or cinemas?
Cinemas
specific malls, I don't know. Certain offices are cold as shit.
Yeah.
You have a specific place, is it?
I mean, I know Great World City is the aircon's pretty powerful. Yeah, it gets pretty chilly inside.
Or specifically Great World City, yeah?
If I remember correctly, yeah.
Just in general or certain outlets?
There's only one Great World City mall.
No, as in different. Oh, it's all central cooling. Is it central cooling?
I suppose so. Yeah.
I mean outlets within the mall,
okay,
not different Great World Cities.
Yeah, one Great World City.
Because
mall.
they are the common areas in the malls and the shops,
Correct.
Yeah. Just everywhere.
It gets colder. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But yeah, it's a nice start to the year. I know some people are hating it.
Hating it? Why so bad?
Just the temperatures there, then the greyish weather, I like grey weather.
I love it, man.
I love it.
This is what it should be year round.
Yeah, man.
I don't mind it being year round.
I think some change is nice, because if it's year round, then it'll be the same problem, except it's there's no change. Change is good.
Yeah. But I was at in a public space over the weekend, outside the National Stadium, where it was pouring. So everyone who wanted to still run and clock in their runs and exercise and TikTok dancing and rollerblading, all that. Everyone was congregated there. So it was, there was a nice feel to it lah.
Oh, is it? So like the
Kampong
whole
spirit-y.
stretch around the lap, everywhere there was people.
Everywhere there were people. And I mean, you could still get around and all. It wasn't terrible. It's just a lot of people lah. And because of the rain lah. But it shows that despite whatever the weather is, people still want to exercise. They still want to get the movement in and everything.
Actually, that's quite cool because you can go from the MRT to the stadium fully covered, right?
Correct, yeah, you can.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And then after that, you go to the mall for lunch and everything. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool, man.
Actually, very relevant to the stuff we're talking about today also.
Yeah. One of the things we're talking about. Right? The first thing is something that is a little unpleasant to happen at the start of the year.
Yeah.
But before we jump into that, what was our regular spiel, Terence?
If you enjoy this podcast, welcome. And if you're new to this podcast, please follow or subscribe, depending on whether you're listening to this or watching this. There's always a follow button with some notification bell and all that you can hit as well on YouTube. Yeah. So please do that. It helps other people also discover this podcast.
Hell yeah, man. And if you want to work with us in any way, individual, brand, sponsor, donor, investor, whatever, if you want to reach us, just email us at contact@ministryoffunny.com. Sweet.
So you're talking about people not enjoying the start of this year.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be talking about a group of people who probably really did not enjoy the start of this year, right? Because it literally came out this news came out days after the start of the year.
Yeah. The news came out on 4th Jan because on 3rd Jan, which was a Wednesday, apparently about 100 plus employees of Lazada were just let go.
Yeah, Lazada Singapore.
Lazada Singapore. And apparently the workers were coming back, but on Wednesday, all the meeting rooms were booked up with back-to-back slots. Some only got the meeting invitations the night before or a few hours before. And some canceled their leave to come back for the sudden meeting.
Yeah.
And they go for these meetings and they're told they are retrenched.
Very suddenly.
Yeah. So I mean, since then, there's been a lot of discussion because NTUC has now gotten involved. Ministry of Manpower has gotten involved. The news outlets have covered it. Some ex-employees have come out to speak under the guise of anonymity. But you were following this as it was happening, is it?
Yeah. I think it was quite interesting because, I mean, it's not the first time there have been layoffs in recent months, right? We've seen other big tech companies. A lot of big tech companies did it last year, right? But it seems like this particular round of layoffs is getting a bit more heat with NTUC and the workers' union all stepping in and making statements. And MOM, the matter being raised to MOM and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting to try and understand why this Lazada layoffs are getting more heat than the previous layoffs.
Like, what are the previous layoffs in Singapore that come to mind?
I mean, the global layoffs at all the tech companies like Meta,
Twitter, or X, right?
Amazon,
Grab,
all them. Everyone was affected, right?
Everyone was affected.
Yeah, all the big tech companies were affected.
Yeah. So I mean, what you said about the things that have happened since then, right? So basically, that news came out on 4th Jan. Then on the next day itself, NTUC came out with a statement, I believe. That the workers' union, meaning NTUC, was not notified or consulted.
Yeah.
So I would say in air quotes, the unacceptable move to retrench employees at Lazada without notifying the unions has been escalated by the Manpower Ministry. Has been escalated to the Manpower Ministry by NTUC. Because basically there is a union representing Lazada's workers. There's the NTUC, the National Trades Union Congress, and the affiliated union Food, Drinks and Allied Workers Union, the FDAWU. And they said, they are deeply disappointed. So this was on 5th Jan.
Yep.
Then on 6th Jan, I think they just accepted Lazada's apology. Which felt like, wait, huh?
Yeah.
You can accept an apology like that. And they did say that talks on better retrenchment benefits are ongoing. But as you were following through and all, because even before this podcast, you said you were following through. Right? Did it strike you as being different from previous times?
I mean, the first thing I want to state is as much as the people being retrenched some of them were quite senior, I think, senior VP roles, according to the anonymous tipper and everything, right? Senior and junior roles. So top to bottom affected. Is there room to feel bad for them? Some of them are very high earners. What do you think?
I think you can still feel bad for them because everybody has a baseline standard of living. And if that comes to an abrupt halt, especially when you are performing well, you're doing all you need to do, you can feel bad for them But I would say maybe if someone is in a dire financial state and they have a lot of commitments, they're getting stretched and they lose their job, you feel more bad for them.
Yeah.
So there's a range of feeling bad, I think.
But we've been there before, right?
Yeah.
We've been there before where, we were not employees.
Yeah.
But we were vendors of a company that went belly up.
Yeah.
Very suddenly. Also, just within hours, they informed people and just suddenly shut down and didn't tell anyone about it.
Yeah, and we found out through the news.
Yeah, and we're talking about our experience with Hook, right?
Yeah.
The network that owed us a lot of money, and then they went belly up, and then haven't even resolved their liquidation 4 years later.
Yeah, and at this point, still was a shit ton of money.
Still was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in that instance, there were also the employees of Hook who were affected, who also were blindsided by the news, right? And I think what we got was a lot more first-hand accounts of how it was carried out. And I saw similarities in the sense that it was literally on the morning of that a lot of employees heard of these layoffs happening. And pretty much there seems to be, like in Lazada's side of things, there seems to be employees reaching out, ex-employees of Lazada reaching out to, offer to help current employees by posting resumes, by having WhatsApp group chats and things like that. And I think that was happening at that time with Hook as well. That's what I understand, like resumes were being shared and everything. So like what you said, it's even if someone's earning a lot, it's still never easy news to learn that your future, basically, at least for the near future, suddenly becomes very uncertain, right?
Yeah.
You never know what commitments they have to the family, or even like employment passes or something that rely on them being employed by Lazada, right? Those things are all very tricky. So heart goes out to those people affected. I'm sure, regardless of what level that they were at, it's tough, right?
Yeah. Especially, I think for me the bigger thing is apparently there were some star performers as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Like from the same tippers.
Oh, okay,
star performers, people who had just gotten promoted and then they get axed.
Yeah.
So I think that was what they said was kind of, just based on the sources that it was baffling to them because the layoffs had actually been happening since September.
Okay.
September, October and all. But this one, first of all, the fact that it was across the board in terms of competency, performance, and what you must say, seniority. Whereas September, October was more, like certain areas they need to downsize. And then the timing. When I was reading it online, like some people pointing, okay, there's no good timing. Okay. If you don't do it now, then you keep them till February? Because some people are saying you make them work for 11-11, 12-12, 1-1. Is there 1-1? There was 1-1.
There was 1-1. Yeah.
Then 3-1, you just ask them to fuck off.
Once the clock hits 12 and then end of the sale, that's it. Time to leave.
It really sucks. And I know as much as even I don't do resolutions and all, the new year does come with like some wind under your wings. You feel okay. Like if there's any time you want to start something, okay, now is a good time. So can you imagine all of these people who are like, okay, you know what, this is new year, new me, 2024.
Signing up for a gym membership, putting a down payment for this and that.
Yeah. And I saw memes saying that 2023 was like, like this confused, we didn't really know where we were, but 2024 is when things get real. 2023, we were still coming out of COVID, settling in, laying the groundwork, and boom, 2024 is when shit happens. And then boom, shit really happens.
Yeah.
It's the timing. But then some people were arguing also that then what is good timing? There's no good timing. If you wait till February, then they'll have to do 2-2 or Chinese New Year sale, then get fired.
Yeah.
Then if you bring it before like October, November, December, generally hiring, I would imagine, slows down. Right? So the availability of jobs also is harder. Whereas January, okay, they severe your one, you also have more people are back to office and stuff like that.
I would say beyond just the timing in terms of like your life goals and plans and all that, right? The start of the year. Is that a lot of these, especially like Chinese New Year holiday in maybe not just Singapore, but in places like Vietnam or whatever as well, right? Where they celebrate the Lunar New Year. It's a time when people gather together. You meet your family, extended family.
How's work?
How's life? Whoa! Right. And then it kind of puts a dampener on things. Maybe it makes you even not want to go for these events because it's a lot to explain, a lot to process, right? We've all been there, when we, you have this obligation to go for family events, even though there's something in you that really you don't want to have to go and face the music and all that, right?
That was the ironic thing about us getting screwed over by Hook during the pandemic. We didn't have to meet people. But honestly, I would have not wanted to meet anyone.
Yeah. It's too harrowing. It's like you're in the middle of a crisis. The last thing you want to do is have to pretend to be happy and all that.
Yeah,
right?
And then people might ask with no ill intention at all. Hey, Harish, you made that TV show with terrorists. How's that going?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
And then you have to go into like a 20-minute, rant.
Then you be the dampener on the festivities and all.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing about it. I think the timing side of things is tough, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I did ask some people, hey, did you think there could have been a better timing? And these people work in the corporate world in like, finance and everything. And they say, honestly, retrenchments happen year round, in their industries. Like, it's just that maybe, you don't hear about it that much, because it's smaller groups at a time, but they happen constantly such that if you add them up, it's probably about the same as Lazada. But in this case, I think, you would imagine e-commerce, everything should be doing better, considering how people are, right? How people have become so comfortable with online shopping compared to like 5 years ago, for example. But I think there's some restructuring going on. Apparently, rumors of a IPO, right, for Lazada coming up next year, maybe. So they need to tighten the belt somewhere.
I mean, just to one thing you said, about how people, like e-commerce is bigger, people should be more comfortable. I think last year, generally in the tech space, the startup world, like companies were being valued at crazy amounts. From startups raising money, they were raising insane amounts of money. It was boom time, 22, 2023. So now, even I think 2022, when a lot of companies raised a shit ton of money, 2023, they were all getting squeezed. Because the more money you raise, the more expectations are.
Yeah.
So I think now that's why all those tech companies had layoffs and all, right?
Yeah.
So I think generally this is going to be the trend for tech, when there's funds available, when there's profits, okay, you hire.
Yeah.
And then when you don't need, you downsize. But the way they did it, it does sound pretty damn messed up.
Anyway, but let me be more nuanced about what I said, right? I think I have talked to people in tech and everything who have said that basically when COVID ended, everything went downhill, right? Even online shopping also to some extent.
You mean the user behavior?
User behavior, metaverse, for example. Where is the metaverse now, right? All things, everything that require you to, or were more require you to stay at home to partake in. Everything went down. So it's probably I stand corrected on what I said earlier about e-commerce is booming on it. I think it was a bad year 2023 for a lot of them, or at least worse than the boom during COVID, right? Yeah. So maybe there were these expectations that things would continue to rise, and then the big dip and like what you said, like they were flush with cash, but they needed to show returns and everything, and they couldn't.
That's why I think in general the tech space, a lot of people, I mean, you speak to anyone, first of all, in general, we keep hearing this looming recession. I don't know how long it's been looming already. But things are not looking the brightest, and tech especially. But so that's why when the company did this, Lazada, it seems like it was super jarring, right? And I think even the severance was not as good as other companies. Like I know Grab was quoted in the CNA article.
Yeah,
I think Grab and before this podcast you mentioned Meta. The Meta, what was the baseline that you mentioned?
What I understood was like there was a several months base, right? Like for everybody had the same several months, and then on top of that was you got, I think, 2 weeks on every year of service.
For every year of service.
So it's everyone starts with at least a decent base of, say, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. That at least gives you ample time to process things, to spruce up your resume, to, reach out to your networks.
Yeah.
Start the process interviews. But I think for Lazada side, it's 2 weeks for every year of service. That's it, right?
That's it, yeah.
So let's say you work 2 years for Lazada, you get a month's severance, which is... that's tough, right? It's a month realistically to get a new job and get started, and to and find something that is, can match your expectations and everything as well.
Yeah.
Stuff like, especially in this market when
So the process, I think everybody will agree generally that okay, it's not the best process. So then NTUC comes in, and then I was thinking, okay, what protection does NTUC actually offer? And from everything I gathered, I mean, basically for people who earn less than 4.5K a month, you are covered by the Employment Act, which means that you have access to do claims or raise it up to certain authorities. But NTUC, I mean, Lazada is not unionized. I think MBS is one of the companies in Singapore that as of 20... Oh, this fuck.
So Lazada, but I thought Lazada is under the Food Drinks Allied Workers Union.
That's true. They are unionized.
They are unionized. The workers there are unionized.
That is true. And that is a sister organization to NTUC.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's what they say. But
the irony is when you go and dig a little bit, or at least just go and click through on the website. When you go through NTUC and try and click on the FDAW, the Food Drinks Allied Workers Union website, it comes up to their homepage, latest news from 22nd July 2022. That's like the top article there. Lazada commits to upskilling workers to remain relevant in the future economy. And a big picture of their former CEO there with Ng Chee Meng, the NTUC dude and everything, all like happily signing some document in 2022 to affirm the Lazada's commitment to upskilling workers.
God.
The irony.
And it's tagged under develop your career.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hey, FDAW.
Yeah.
FDAWU.
It can be a bit more sensitive to update the website.
Yeah. What the hell, man?
Yeah.
So I mean, especially because it feels like, okay, they are trying to do something, right? But the more I read about it, I couldn't find anything that the union can actually impose or penalize this company, the Lazada, for.
There's nothing. Yeah.
They can raise it up to MOM, and MOM actually has a retrenchment framework. So, for example, you must notify MOM within 5 working days after affected employees are notified. So there's all these articles about how the unions were not notified. It's not clear that whether or not they notified MOM.
Yeah.
And it hasn't even been 5 days since it happened. It's 5 days today. But I think the unions were not notified.
Yeah.
So that is a faux pas because...
Faux pas.
Faux pas. What's a faux pas?
Faux pas. Yeah.
Faux pas. Because it's French.
It's French, yeah.
So you spend time in French, so I give you a...
I wanted to correct your faux pas before you faux pas yourself into more faux pas.
I faux pas the faux pas. So it's faux pas.
Faux pas, yeah.
Faux pas, okay. So the faux pas was that they did not notify the union. But I don't think it is something they can be penalized, which is why it feels like, okay, then what can NTUC actually impose on them? Or what can FDAWU actually impose on them?
Yeah. And then I think... to answer the question, that was a rhetorical question, right? There's really, I don't know, and from what I'm reading, also there doesn't seem to be much, right? But what I would add is that actually reading all the different articles, it's quite interesting because every journalist seems to have their own inside source, anonymous source from Lazada or that, who I think one of them also revealed that apparently Lazada has no more internal communications team to handle, press inquiries. So I think maybe that group, that team either got cancelled or laid off, whatever, right? So they're not getting much from Lazada itself, right? From all these inquiries. So it seems like there seems to be a lot of things going on within Lazada, C-suite level, VP level, people being laid off, no more internal comms team. Someone, HR person here, not even bothering to, inform MOM of retrenchments.
Yeah, so this is like almost like PTSD of what we saw, right, with Cook, right? Where from the outside, right, or for those affected, it is like your world has come crashing down.
Yeah.
But inside, right, life just goes on.
Yeah, you open up Lazada now, there's like, you can start collecting vouchers for the next sale already. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Which is the CNY one.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially when you look at this article that, okay, the workers' union accepts the apology. I'll just read out some quotes. Basically, Lazada has apologized to the union representing their workers for not consulting it prior to its latest retrenchment exercise. Both parties have agreed to work closely together and to put workers' interests at the forefront of their negotiations.
Yeah.
Lazada have also assured FDAWU that they will be consulted in advance for any future exercises. Big fucking duda.
Yeah.
So it just feels like the union told Lazada that it was unacceptable, escalated the matter to MOM. But if nothing dire happens, it's going to keep happening.
What is going to keep happening?
Like these sort of like, okay, we need to retrench. Let's just almost put in the least amount of effort required. Yeah. I think the benchmark is how Airbnb handled it during the COVID. Right? Because like there are articles written outside there also about how, first of all, ensuring a smoother retrenchment process bodes well for your company in the long term.
Yep.
And there's actually a lot of things that companies can do.
Yeah.
One example is like what you said, like just consolidating the list of people you are offloading and sharing it so to help them get their job. I know Grab, they did things like, access to LinkedIn Premium for a year. And like coaching for interviews or job hunting and all that. So all these little things matter. But for companies to be so brazen like this, right, it just feels like, okay, because they know they can do it. It's just, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Okay, then, forgive you.
That's because you're a fucking populist, right?
I'm a fucking populist, man. I'm a fucking populist.
No, I mean, there's a lot of comments online about how Singapore is pro-business and they're not gonna actually do anything. I mean, being deeply disappointed doesn't do anything for the people actually being retrenched, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that comes back to what we were saying about how brazen, to quote you, how brazen the whole thing feels. Like 2 days after the new year, start of the year, right after the 1/1 sale and everything.
Yeah.
And, realizing, they didn't even bother to inform authorities, even just to, hey, heads up, this is happening.
Yeah.
Hey, heads up, there might be some bad PR, that kind of thing. We always talk about in Singapore, businesses and the relationship with the worker, the unions, the business and the governments, all they would tripartite, they work together, everything, right?
Yeah.
Feels like the kind of thing that you probably should tell somebody if you're doing, right? If you're in a tripartite relationship, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even as employers ourselves, right? If we wanted to fire someone, there are steps that we need to take, right? And it can't just be like there needs to be a clear reason. That you almost I can't recall, but there's something where you need to give them like a chance to make amends or something.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a multi-step process that is documented, right? Such that, I mean, even just to protect yourself as a company, that it doesn't, later people come back and sue you and everything for unfair discrimination or wrongful termination and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Right. So, I don't think retrenchment is necessarily illegal or wrong or breaches anything. In fact, a lot of the stuff that under the Employment Act, all that are also guidelines, right? Not necessarily you have
to be penalized or anything.
Penalized easily. Yeah. But my understanding has always been that they will talk to you about it, the MOM and all will come and talk to the companies about it to try and do better, right?
Yeah.
But this one, I don't see an easy way to do better, whether it's to force Lazada to, improve the retrenchment benefits or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's no framework for doing that or precedent for doing that.
Yeah, but then from Lazada's perspective also, I'm just thinking like, okay, why would you not want to put in a bit more effort to make it a smoother process? But then maybe it's just because Lazada and like a lot of tech companies, they still have a pool as an employer. Sure, you do this retrenchment exercise. 3 months down the road, someone's looking for a job, your pay package is good, your benefits are good. How much of this sort of treatment is going to play into their decision? I don't think much, no.
Yeah. It's the corporate machinery.
This is a corporate machine. Like, even for me, right? Like, okay, I think this is fucked up and all this shit. Am I going to use RedMart again? Yeah.
You vote with your dollars.
Because at the end of the day, like it's one of those things. Okay, so using RedMart and joining Lazada as an employee, two very different things. But I think, everybody generally would like to think that, okay, they are not going to be the ones who get fired, or they hope that it never happens to them. It's like you see someone in a horrible car accident. There's a baseline feeling that no, that's not going to happen to me, which is not right, lah.
Yeah.
Right. So I think in this case, the fact that they can be so brazen is because at the end of the day, it's not going to affect any part of their business.
Well, so why do you say that you can't stop using Redmart or Lazada? You can, right?
Yeah, you can, lah.
Yeah.
But like, okay, online groceries, right? Like for me, okay, then the next best option, I've tried NTUC before. Amazon is more expensive. Then it comes down to that, lah. Then I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, it's still the best option.
Yeah.
So of course I can vote with my dollar.
Yeah.
But then it at this point also like the amount of dollars I have to freely give is not unlimited.
Correct, but then I mean that's why I'm sort of challenging what you're saying in that even if you are paying a slightly higher price and all that, right? If that means also sort of showing your discontent with the current situation and showing, standing up to something evil, isn't that worth a few dollars more?
Philosophically, yes. But I would say for this, because okay, so like for Hook and Singtel, right?
Yeah.
That one I resist, lah.
But okay,
so that one I was affected.
Singtel is, but okay, Singtel is one of the not say monopoly, but it's one of the few companies.
But you can still choose to defer, like
Not so even there you can still sort of choose.
But that one because the hurt was felt directly to me.
Okay.
But the more degrees of separation, right? I'm not gonna lie, it gets harder, lah. And especially when like everything is getting more expensive and all that, and I mean even the convenience of it, right?
Yeah.
Is there you might not be able to get groceries from other online grocers. Of course, you can go and buy it and all.
Yeah.
But not say like I'm also like floating on the clouds with like all the time in the world, right? So then it becomes a tough thing, like, and I think that's unfortunately what leads to companies being this brazen, like.
So why can't I mean our situation with Hook, even want to boycott, so there's no more Hook to boycott already, like, right? Only unless you blame the parent company, then you do what you do, like. But in this situation, Lazada still exists. It's still doing its 2233 sales. There's credible alternatives like Shopee and others, right? You can choose not to use them. And even in your position as a influencer or whatever, choose to tell people to not use it, right?
Yeah. So between Lazada and Shopee, like I will say that this does push me to Shopee.
Okay.
Like let's say something like Redmart, right? Where it still feels like there's no other provider that provides that sort of like products at that sort of price. It's harder for me to jump.
I see.
Whereas Shopee, because at the end of the day, like if I'm buying a new TV or something, if Lazada is offering like $200 off, I won't deny, man. It's not going to be like okay, you know what?
Then you gotta go on Shopee and like play those games, collect more coins and all that. Then you'll get $20.
Hours for this voucher. No, all I'm saying is it's not as easy to vote with your dollar sometimes, lah.
Yeah.
And then you also have to, like, there are things that you vote with your dollars for already. If you're always voting with your dollars, then at the end of the day, your wallet is going to be pinched, and that's where it gets tricky.
But I'm only asking because I mean, there's this ongoing boycotts of like even Starbucks and all that going on because of their stance on Israel Hamas and all that, right? I mean, people there, like exactly what you're saying. It's not easy. Some people drink a lot of Starbucks coffee.
But Starbucks, I would say coffee is not like rice,
Yeah, but Lazada is not rice. They're not the only purveyor of like.
Correct, but Redmart, like if you look at a bunch of the groceries and all, and the price that you can get it for, and the convenience also, it's all baked in, lah. Whereas coffee to me is like if you're paying Starbucks, and the difference between Starbucks and black coffee, it's on your own. It's the
essentially you're saying Redmart is just so much better than the competition that it's very hard for you to step away from Redmart
at this point.
Okay. I think that's all. That's the main thing I wanted to understand. Like why? Because to me, I thought it's like you can switch between alternatives easily.
No, I've tried, man. I don't know. Maybe I haven't tried NTUC for a long time.
Yeah. Because I would say for discretionary spending on like whatever nonsense like buy on Shopee and Lazada, all that, I'm quite indifferent between the two. Like, I'll go wherever the
discretionary.
price is. But this, I mean, watching something like this, and that feeling of helplessness that I'm sure that these people being laid off feel, and the sense of injustice when people read it on Wake Up Singapore and everything.
Yeah.
It does push me to, okay, I use Shopee lah.
Yeah, for discretionary stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether Shopee has groceries, but Lazada, and I mean, as far as possible, so I would rather shop at Sheng Siong than Lazada, than Redmart. But certain times, the convenience, it really does help.
I just calling you out for your champagne socialism, lah, basically. Like,
why champagne socialism?
Wow, this is brazen, it's terrible, But I still need to use my Redmart, lah, sorry.
That's why I brought it up. Because you can even argue I'm part of like the enabler.
The problem,
I'm not, I in some way, we're all enablers. Right? Like, for you, do you use Redmart?
No, I don't actually.
Oh, you don't?
But I mean, I'm not, my house generally, I'm not the one doing a lot of the planning for these kind of things. I do my grocery runs. Like, I go with the wife and everything. But I'm usually just a mule. I carry and all that.
But you also have a car, right?
Yeah.
So if I go to Sheng Siong and walk back, or it's
correct. It is tougher.
Yeah, it's tougher. So I refute your champagne socialism. I was just being like upfront about something. I think people do feel.
Correct.
But for certain things that hit hard, like with Hook and Singtel, that one I'm like,
Okay, so it happens to you, then angry.
Yeah.
But degrees of separation from you, then I still need to use Redmart. Sorry.
That's human nature, man. You telling me everybody reacts the same way to something that happens to them versus something that's 5 degrees removed?
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. I just just needed to call out.
So you're different. You're all high and mighty, is it?
The thing
on your high horse.
I never came out and said like, this is brazen and everything.
It is brazen, right?
It's terrible. Wow,
it's fucking brazen. It is fucking brazen as a company. So you don't think it's brazen?
I mean, I don't like it, right? And even in my mind, at some point, before we discussed, when I started this discussion, I was like. These people, some of these people getting laid off, I'm probably made very huge, a lot of money in the last few years and everything. Should we be feeling really sorry for them, right? And that's why I got into it. I was just trying to square it off myself, right? About the emotional side of things versus the money side of things, right? But yeah, it's I can understand why, even though there's buzz about it and NTUC has come and make a statement, but. Other than just the very vocal minority on Reddit or online or whatever, normal people might not care that much.
And I will say, like,
and it's Exhibit A.
It's Exhibit A and B. Okay, don't just make it seem on me. Okay, no, and I will also say, like, if someone is earning if they earn a shit ton of money over the past few years, it is harder to feel bad for them.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, it is harder.
It is.
Yeah, it's harder. Like that's
the reality is.
Yeah, I'm glad you admit that, Terrence.
I mean, that's why at the start I already said, should we be feeling sorry, angry and all that,
Yeah. But yeah, if you look at it, it's still a stop to their lives and how it was going on. But philosophically, the way this was rolled out, especially when you've seen companies do better jobs, and you've seen companies do enough shit jobs.
Yeah.
The fact that companies still do this, I find it perplexing.
I think what we need is for the Lazada CEO to come out and make a video of himself crying. Showing
correct.
/S sarcastic. Everyone, I'm being sarcastic. Yeah, that's what some people did during
the solitary tear down the cheek. And take a photo and put it on LinkedIn.
Yeah. That's right.
Exactly. Oh man. Oh man.
We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah. It's still ongoing. Still ongoing.
I think one interesting point that someone brought up online was that the other reason that this is also getting a lot of buzz is because actually it's kind of implying that Singapore is losing its ground as a regional hub for a lot of tech companies. Like, why do you need all this expensive C-suite level employees in Singapore when you can get equally talented people in cheaper markets elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
And Singapore is now very expensive. Welcome to 9% GST and everything, right?
Yeah.
And pay packages have to rise to compensate as well, right? So if so many senior people are literally losing their jobs here, it kind of tells you that, hey, everything can operate even without all these C-level people in Singapore, right?
Yeah. You just have a base. You have your physical base here.
Small market,
But you have all your other employees in cheaper.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's why this looks bad, not just on Lazada or the Union, but on Singapore Inc. Yeah.
Singapore Inc.
Yeah.
That is true.
Interesting point, I thought. Yeah.
Interesting point. That is true. Singapore is in a precarious state, man. Precarious state.
Yeah. Hey, so are we moving on to the next topic? Or are you like closing? Are you finishing up your order on Red Mart?
Oh no! I was waiting for your segue. I had a segue in my head, but I was like, okay, I want to crimp Terrence's style, so I give a pause and then just look at my computer. Fuck you lah.
You want to close your Red Mart
ordered yesterday already. Ordered yesterday.
Oh man, but yeah, we are. That was one not so fun topic to start the year.
Yeah.
But there's this other group of people whose days that their start the year for them also being like crimped, right? And this is something that I think affects a lot more. I would think affects the average person on the street a lot more also, right? What is this issue?
It is the issue that came out close to the the article came out 26 December. So like it happened like a couple of weeks ago, but there's been ongoing chatter and a lot more opinion pieces that have come out.
Yeah.
And it all is around the temporary closure of a Bidok North Street soccer court over noise complaints. So I mean, at the higher level, the chronology was I believe East Coast Town Council. So 26 December, there was screenshots. There were pictures taken of this notice for a outdoor court that was temporarily closed, and East Coast Town Council came out on the same day and clarified that there's been a lot of feedback from residents about the improper use of the court. There were a lot of disagreements between users and residents. Apparently, the users shouted vulgarities at the residents. The MP for Kampong Chai Chee, Mr. Tan Kiat Hao, has tried to mediate these issues, getting volunteers to speak to the users, shortening opening hours. But at the end of the day, it still couldn't be solved. So they temporarily closed it to find a solution in the meantime. But pictures of that closure and all, because this is not the first time in recent months that something like this has happened. I think Sembawang a few months ago, which we covered.
Yeah, there was a barricade set up around a void deck.
There was a barricade. Then over the weekend, I think both you and I got saw stuff floating around about like nails on HDB walls to puncture footballs, right?
Yeah. And they, I think it's those like at the ceiling level, they put literally nails sticking out.
Yeah.
So that if you kick a ball against it, it'll puncture your football.
Yeah. And you look at it, you're like, oh my God, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So then, since then, there have been a few opinion pieces on like Today and Yahoo and CNA about, is this a problem that we need to confront more actively or not? The fact that there are less and less spaces for people to play football. Or just play in general.
Yeah.
Right. But what made you specifically want to talk about this?
I think it's starting to become a bigger thing. People are taking photos of all these measures that the authorities are using to prevent the use of HDB void decks or common spaces, right, to play football. But I thought it's interesting to talk about it because I think Tan Kiat Hao came out with his own sort of clapback, right, at all the people who criticized him and his post. And I think he raised some. I mean, he pretty salty, right? I mean, he raised some good points, right? I think quite specifically, he to quote him on the post, he said, "Some folks have asked good questions like whether we have considered alternatives, while others have tried to stir up unhappiness over this issue by linking it to unrelated matters." Then he said, "I welcome the opportunity to add color to the decision." And he points out that they recently refurbished basketball and street soccer courts nearby at Block 135 Ruby Heights, which are open and free for everyone to use. And there's another nearby court at Rainbowville, Block 403. And they are exploring alternatives to closing the court. So it's only a temporary closure. It's not like they're getting rid of it entirely, right? And they're discussing there with the residents on what they prefer. And the fact is that the blocks in that particular estate, Garden Hill, are more than 40 years old. So I think what he's saying is that, it's been there for very long, right?
Yeah.
But maybe with a changing population, demographic, whatever, then it might be a good time to just refresh and take a look at whether there's alternatives to it. So yeah, I think he put out all these alternatives. He even showed photos of all these alternate places that you can get your football fix. And I thought that is a you can tell like it's not an easy job, right? He is trying to balance a lot of different interests from different sides, especially of his residents, right? Do you buy his explanation and spiel?
Yeah, so I don't know. Like as much as it's very easy to shit on closing the football courts, putting the nails and all. I mean, based on accounts and based on feedback, apparently there was a lot of trash. The users were peeing on the courts.
Urine smell. Yeah.
And even they were climbing in after the gates are locked. First of all, the image of a court that is just gated up, right, is so dystopian, right? That it feels very surreal. I don't know whether all courts in Singapore are like that, all heartland HDB courts are like that. But yeah, already that's dystopian. Then it's locked up. Apparently, the users were climbing in, and when residents tried to talk to them, it didn't go down well. Right? So, thinking about all that, I think it's important to note that, okay, that is a possibility. What he's saying, I can sort of see some points he's making. So that's why I think it's important to, okay, this sucks in general, that it's temporarily closed, and but now it's reaching like a level where, okay, even a temporary closure to find a solution is seen as like it's horrible for football. I think the state of open space in Singapore already sucks.
Yeah.
But this one, I think now is almost like, there's no room to try and figure something out.
I mean, just going back to what I was saying, what I did this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Where it was pouring and I needed to find a space to let the kids run wild and everything. And yeah, I just went to the National Stadium, and that whole space around actually was quite pleasant, in spite of the rain and the weather and how dreary it was. I was like, wow, spaces like that exist, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, there's this the refrain is often about football, about playing football specifically. But if the court is repurposed for people to play other sports, besides football and
silent sports, is it? So at night.
I mean, I don't know about silent sports, but maybe stuff that doesn't even use as much space, right? For example,
like what?
Pickleball, for example.
But pickleball, last time you said the noise all.
I'm not getting to that, yeah. That's a level of noise. But pickleball can be played by a larger demographic of people, young and old, right? Or something else, I don't know, as in some other sport that maybe requires a bit less space, Do you think that maybe we have this obsession? We can't let go of our past. We can't let go of the Malaysia Cup fever.
But why is football the past? I think
maybe it is now, but yeah, there's this comparison to what it was back then, right? Or Malaysia Cup and Fandi Ahmad and Sundram. But maybe we just moved past that already.
No, don't ever move past that. Exactly, it's not saying holding on to the past. It is okay. Football is the world's most popular game.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Football as a sport, it's I mean, I can't think of many other sports where you could just start playing. I remember when I was young, we didn't even have a football. We used to play kick around water bottles as the football. Yeah. And I think it is one of the most accessible sports. Even basketball, you need a hoop to shoot. So I think football is not holding on to past, Terrence. It's it's priming us for the future. It can be an equalizer of kids. It brings people together. It is the world's game. So I think it should not be replaced. We need to make it work somehow.
So no other game can work for it,
of course other games can, but converting a street soccer court to another sport, I'll be like, hey, have we really exhausted all solutions? That this is what I feel like. Singapore, to the country's credit, to the leaders' credit, if there is a problem to be solved, more often than not, if we really put our minds to it, we solve it. Whereas this soccer thing, it feels like
it's regressed a lot, right?
Yeah, it's regressed a lot. Why? And that's where it gets a little annoying. So clearly, it's almost like, okay, we want this to do well, but it's not respected as a problem. And I think not understanding how important it is to kids. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I can imagine for kids, it's damn important to have these parts to play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like the future of this generation depends on it, parents. So that's what I feel.
Okay. I understand that. I mean, I am a big football fan also. I love how accessible it is. All the other sports that I watch are not as easily accessible. Basketball, tennis, whatever lah, MMA, all these things. None of them are.
MMA quite accessible. What? You just go down.
You got fight lah, then you might die in the process. Also. But it's true. Football is the most accessible, and what I love about it is it equalizes all your physical advantages or disadvantages. Like basketball, if you're tall, you'll be a much more likely to be a better basketball player. You know, tennis also, if you're very tall, you're also more likely to be able to serve faster.
Rugby,
you're big size, you know, yeah. But football, you have fucking Lionel Messi. He's shorter than me, and he's the best player of all time. You know, that tells you something, like, right? It really equalizes. Doesn't matter how you were fed or how you were brought up, but it really gives you a chance to excel, like, find your role in the team and go. So I love that about football. That's the romantic part, lah. But that. So I go back again to that obsession with this, like, the whole kampong spirit of football, right? Because, I mean, I don't know, I haven't lived in these places, but when you travel overseas, like Japan or, you know, in the US and all that, like, a lot of times they play these kind of sports, like football, only seasonally lah. That means only when the weather is ideal, like summer or what, then there's like summer leagues and all that. And when I see like a lot of these young Japanese kids, when I walk past, like some of them training football, that they really go to a field and they wear boots and everything and they train lah, you know. I didn't really see a lot of them like just playing football on the streets and all that. And so my thing was that they just look at it, they just moved on from like, oh, it needs to be a kampong thing that, you know, from the favelas we come out and then we play football and everybody just like, they just looked at it as something that can be instituted and developed as a thing lah, right? You know, as a thing that you have programs and you have institutions and all that, and that's where you go to develop your game lah, right? And rather than relying on, oh, you must play a lot of your kampong, then you become very good, then someone discover you one day, then you go to academy. As in, there seems to be a much clearer progression for a good player in some of these more developed countries lah. I think maybe Singapore is at a stage where we don't have the space and you know, and we are living 6 million people living in a very small space. We don't have the space to just everybody must have open space to go and play and discover or something kind of thing. But what we can do is maybe have more clearer programs and everything that allow our children to, you know, excel that way lah.
Oh, right? You sound like a politician. No? You're somewhere doing the hands together thing also.
Yeah. The hands together. The Ronaldo interview hands.
Yeah. So what I disagree with that approach is that it's taking a very outcome focused approach. But whereas to me, the benefit of soccer is not even to become the best player. Because when you institutionalize it too much, even now, and this is something I've spoken to some of my friends who have kids who are older and they're sending their kids to football classes and all, it almost becomes like a chore. You know, but I think the everything you said, the equalizer, the romance of football is just in its purity. You know, it's not about the school, it's not about becoming the best player. It's just playing in a team against another team and working together. And I think that is the most important thing. But it's a very qualitative thing that you can almost argue has no economic benefit. But that's why I think that's why it's forgotten lah.
But that's why I actually think that there needs to be some balance of what the public, what is important to the public and what is important for, you know, developing sporting culture lah, right? Because we can, you know, go ahead and say, for example, we can go ahead and build running tracks around every HDB and all that lah, right? And justify it as like we want to create more world champions. But will it necessarily create another Shanti Pereira or Soryong lah? as opposed to having like a sports association and all that.
But we already have sports associations.
I don't know, as in giving them more resources to do a better job. Because I think the one thing we can agree on is FAS has not been doing a great job, right? In whatever capacity.
But the thing is, these sports associations, the moment they are institutions and all, then there's a cost to it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't become the most accessible anymore.
So, but you build court also got a cost. There's an opportunity cost into it.
For what?
You build the space. You build
so it's opportunity cost for the
rest of the population to use the space and everything.
So then it becomes the problem that Singapore is heading down. Like every square inch must have an economic return. Whereas to me, there is an economic return to providing spaces where people can play soccer freely because it helps a lot with social cohesion and all. But it's a very tough thing to quantify.
Yeah, that's where I probably a bit like what we're disagreeing about.
Yeah, I think
I think you are saying that there's this social utility that is so unique to football that nothing else can manage.
Or at least
but right, let me finish. But I feel that you can achieve that level of you can encourage more social cohesion utility with other forms of like other things other sports, other third spaces. I think we talked about the concept of third spaces before. Other kinds of third spaces that are more inclusive to different types of people and physiques and everything. Maybe because last time you're a jock, that's why you're like, sports, most important.
But you just said it is accessible and the equalizer. So isn't that already catering to as many physiques and like demographics as possible?
No, I mean, I'm like in my 40s. I'm not going to like go and play football
you
with
play
like
goalie,
young people. Exactly. Exactly. You're bringing me back to the PTSD days of being the last to be selected for football. So I'm saying it's fun for those people who are good and get selected first. But then when you think about those people who don't get selected,
you got play recreational football before?
Of course.
Yeah, it's a lot more chill, no?
And
you really get people of different sizes and all.
I know, but football is taxing on like, anyone past 35, I think, as a sport, and the if it's about maintaining an active lifestyle and all that kind of thing, I feel like there's other sports you can pick up.
So like what sort of sport?
I mean, pickleball. Noise aside, right? Pickleball is a very easy sport to pick up. I see a lot of old people playing it.
But how many people can play in that same space?
4 people. I think one street soccer space probably can have 2 like courts, kind of thing, and then two pickleball courts and then like 4 two, so about 8 people at a time,
Compared to football, so it's.
And then see the thing about football is that the trajectory of the football also has to travel very far and then it can fly out and everything. You see, so you need to afford a lot of space for that.
True, but then you also another thing that's different is football is a team game, and I think team sports inherently are very different from individual sports, and team sports bring a lot of social value.
They do.
So like a sport like pickleball, soccer, I think it's hard to compare also the net utility of a sport.
So in that I would say, like, to me, it's like basketball in terms of space-wise is more efficient than football in terms of getting people to play a team sport. In space-wise, like let's say the social cohesion per square footage of space. Probably Singapore is the only place where we actually probably have to calculate that. Yeah. I feel like basketball, you can play half court 3-on-3. There's 6 people in the half court already, and it's very competitive and very communication driven and everything, right?
Yeah.
Whereas football, I feel like rather inefficient.
You can have up to 4 teams on rotation. Winners stay.
Rotation.
But still, it's part of the whole thing. Then outside, you're like, hey, bro.
No, but you don't say rotation. Rotation, I can have like 20 basketball 3-on-3 teams on rotation.
Yeah.
But like the game itself, like it needs a lot of space for what? How many people in the street soccer?
I mean, I played 6-on-6, 7-on-7 before, man. So it's packed, right?
14, okay.
Yeah. So you can squeeze in a lot of people there.
But maybe that's the calculation that needs to be made. Social cohesion per square foot.
The racial breakdown, the age breakdown, the cost required on average for someone to partake in that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I would say like golf, tennis, those are really inefficient. Those are really, really fucking inefficient. Like tennis, to just get to a playable level, you spend so much money and time and equipment and everything.
So essentially, it sounds like what we're coming down to, there needs to be a ranking of sports in terms of social cohesion. And if you cannot get people to like socially
be cohesive socially.
Then the sports fuck off.
You should be downgraded.
But that was also like what we were talking about schools last time, right? When we went to secondary school, the soccer team, we didn't get to nationals and all. Then they just cut the sport.
Yeah, they cut, and I think our school felt that the field was better used by the rugby team, which was more likely to win a gold medal.
Even though my batch from Sec 1 to J2, 6 finals, 6 silvers.
Correct.
So then it becomes.
Well, look at you, my batch, my team. That's how.
My batch.
That's how.
Very jockish is it?
Skin in the game. That's why you're like so biased for football.
Yeah, I mean, I won't deny I have a bias towards sports, and I think like sports is super important. But that's the reality of Singapore, like right now. Which I think is very sad, because I think team sports in general bring so much value. it's just like our goals to reach the World Cup for football. We'll never reach it.
Correct. So, okay, I ask you, if Singapore got a chance to reach, if doing what we're doing has a chance to allow us to reach the next World Cup final, but it means that your block downstairs every day, there'll be kids playing football until 10 p.m. every night. You have to tahan this for Singapore to reach the next World Cup final, the next World Cup, right? Will you be okay with it?
I would say how I would approach that. I would be like, okay, if that's what's needed, fine. Let's find a better way for people to be able to play football. And that's where I think this is lacking. Like, the fact that it's a very, okay, this is a public utility, you're not getting along, we lock it up. But you see so many instances of public-private partnerships where the government teams up with like people to run a certain utility or a space.
Yeah.
So how I would say, okay, we do that, but yes, let's get this kid's skin in the game also, that if like
if they break anything, they will tell police and then they won't run off if they break any license.
No, if you really wanted to talk about it, have like a decibel meter, a sound detector. The moment it goes up, boom, kena lock or something like that. So that's why I feel we haven't gotten creative enough with the solutions. The ball, use a padded ball.
Okay.
And there are ways solutions. Whereas now it's like, okay, we either have or don't have, and it's too binary. Yeah, because if you make the kids, so in this case, I think if the kids are peeing on the fucking court, then like you can't blame people for wanting to lock it up, So that's where the kids are assholes. And there needs to be a better way to guard this resource. You see the HDB gardens, which I think is a very nice thing. Even my block, there's a garden. It's community maintained. It's community owned. The locks are, I think, with certain community members. So the football court also, we have something like that. There are ways to really engage people. Like if you were telling me that, okay, but I can also like help with coaching the team. Wow, if they're playing downstairs, it'll be interesting, Then we have like estate tournaments, Tampines versus Woodlands, Tampines. Wow, I tell you, there's so much that can be milked out of it now.
I'll be honest, I can't say the same for myself. That I don't think if I can live necessarily with like kids or children screaming downstairs.
But if they're not screaming.
But they would, they would. You play any sport, there'll be some shouting.
But then they don't need to go up to 10 p.m. You can still, that's my point. Like, it's not binary. There are ways to find something that can work for more people. That's what I feel.
But even not 10 p.m., like even like 9, 8 p.m., sometimes it's like, I'm trying to put my kid to sleep.
Okay, then you find a time, even 6 or 7. Again, it's not binary. Like, these kind of finer things doesn't mean, and that's why I think it's scary. Okay, it's going to be unlikely to find a time we close. You know what? Just lock it up.
So you were saying that it's so dystopian to see a fence around a football court, but here you are advocating that there's a decibel meter that if you cross a certain amount, then lock up the place and everything.
But you set the expectations, what? Isn't that what life is? You set expectations. Yeah. If you flout it, you suffer the consequences. In this case, I think maybe like there's almost, this is our space, we can do whatever we want, and then it gets locked up. You're like, hey, it's unfair. So I think it's managing that whole thing better.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no one perfect solution, but I feel like right now the solution is always, okay, this is not working. Let's just close it, which I think is sad.
Yeah. I think my take is like maybe should we relook this obsession with bringing back kampong spirit through football, the Malaysia Cup thing. Maybe it's gone. Maybe it's really just a vestige of the past. I know I enjoyed it as much as you did. It was my part of my childhood. But the more we talk about things like the lack of land in Singapore, reclaiming land for people to live, the aging population that we're having. Now I have a child, and I understand the limitations of a lot of these things, right? I feel like, is it maybe we just need to let go of that obsession with trying to make football in Singapore great again?
But so that's why like my stance is, it's not about making football great. It's just in some way a better sporting culture and third spaces. So not just constrained to football, but football, I feel, just in terms of accessibility and the nature of it, it's something that can bring a lot of value.
What are some examples of that we should do more of, you think, for this football? Like, for example, people are talking about, remember the football courts that are built under flyovers and all that? They are rented out as businesses.
Yeah.
I think those are brilliant ideas.
I think those are great.
Those places are noisy regardless. And it's unused space that would otherwise just nothing would happen there. You make people who want to play, they have to track a little bit more, but at least it's like nobody will disturb you, no police, no worries of nails on the wall and shit like that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Anything else that you know?
For a while, I used to play at this office building where there was a football court at the top. And because after office hours, no one's there.
Yeah. Correct.
Right. So then I feel like, hey, that actually, I was like, it blew me away that this thing is just there and it's just one piece. It's artificial grass, so you don't need to water it or anything. And that turns a space that after working hours is generally empty, and you just put it there.
Yeah.
Right.
Like maybe at along Marina Bay, that stretch, right? Actually, after CBD area, actually after working hours, it's like on weekends and all, not a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah. Or even industrial estates.
Yes.
Right. Industrial estates, we already, even where our office is, at night, all the hawker coffee shops close because there's no one here.
Yeah.
And there's space, so it feels like the solution is like, okay, I agree that housing, if it's a nuisance, okay, maybe it's not the best. But doesn't mean we can't find ways. And I think the flyover thing is a great thing.
Another one I saw, I think that there's implemented in some places, is some of the school fields and all that are actually open to public to use outside of school hours. Which I thought was, that's pretty cool, and you can book via the app and everything.
Yeah. So stuff like that.
Yeah. Because I think last time all these school fields were closed to the public, right?
Yeah.
But now I believe that they actually even built the fencing in such a way that after hours is accessible by the public and all that.
So maybe what I'll agree with you is that maybe we need to change our notion of just being able to go down and play.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe if you have to take a bus somewhere, then okay there's a lot of benefits that we have reaped from our country growing over the past 20 years. And this is just one of those things that have to change.
It's a bit more inconvenient, but,
at least you still get to play.
Yeah. I mean, people in countries with winter and all that, when they want to play football, you can't just go downstairs in your slippers, take off your slipper and start playing. They're wearing socks, they're wearing kit and all that. Of course, you can talk about it costing money, but the point is just, it's a bit more inconvenient to play, but they still make it work, right?
Singapore,
we are very lucky.
My void deck, I play
that. I cannot play my void deck. Soccer is dead because we cannot play void deck. That's where I'm like, let's question that notion a little bit.
Yeah. Right, but then, also not to go to extreme, kampung spirit, no point. Let's just give it up. Let's just not rest on what the magic of football is.
Like, you're putting words in my mouth.
No, you literally said that.
To me, no, give up. I didn't give up that obsession with bringing back kampung spirit via football. That's what I'm saying. You can bring back kampung spirit with a garden or like a space or like a garden maze or whatever. Let children run around, adults hang out, that kind of thing. Third spaces that are not necessarily about playing football.
True. Okay, cool. We can agree on certain parts.
That's the beauty of the yalla butt.
That's beauty. We can yalla butt all the way and still agree.
Yeah.
Sweet, man.
But speaking of, agreeing or disagreeing, what is your one Shiok comment?
My one Shiok comment is one thing that you have pointed out recently is that the comments we get on Reddit and YouTube, very different kind of tones, and it feels like very different kind of demographics, right?
Yeah.
So one on the recent Andy Chen podcast that I read, I was like, this is a cute comment. Basically, I'll read it out. From user EY5XZ8HN9I. Just to share that this podcast really is more interesting than others, and you guys really need to bring the right person for interviews. Well done so far. And the person that has the chance to sit on that guest chair should feel great and outstanding. Hope this podcast really continues to bring good, respected person for interview to get a great award yourself and your podcast. So I think hard to tell whether it's a bot or not, but I just thought there was it's a very different kind of comment tone on YouTube. Yeah. Which seems maybe it's a different demographic, but it's still a very sweet comment nonetheless.
Correct. Yeah.
So that was my one Shiok comment.
Yeah. Mine also from YouTube. I think it was one on the episode where we talked a little bit about Chan Chun Sing asking parents to give space, give kids space. And the 17-year-old Vietnamese bride, right? The 17-year-old Vietnamese bride looking for a husband who earns $4,800, right? One of the comments on YouTube was, it's good to marry a wife that don't talk too much due to language barrier. Otherwise, you will have a radio that you cannot switch off. So, that was from Oga Pagoda too. And I just thought it's interesting comment. Right?
Oh yeah, YouTube comments are funny, man.
Yeah. Very different demographic from Reddit, right?
Yeah. I'll just read one right below that. It's just not say one show comment, but like, okay, from Hello Ira. I had started listening to your podcast at Spotify initially without knowing how both of you look like for months. Although there was a photo at Spotify, I did not bother to zoom in to see it. I was thinking you guys may look like some local DJs who have a nice voice but look horrible, not going to mention names. When I was aware of your YouTube channel, finally during one of the podcasts, I was like, oh my god, you both look the same as your voices. Approachable looking. Maybe Harish needs to smile more to look more approachable. Yeah, so I was just like, hey, like I thought I smile quite a bit. What? And then like love the hosting ability, nice voice, always sound cheeky. Terrence and Harish, both of you are the yin and yang, like match make in heaven in podcast world. You guys must keep doing this, entertain us. Keep it up. Yeah, you. So I guess we sound like our voices.
Yeah, I don't know which DJs. I thought DJs generally quite hot now.
Maybe old school DJs.
The older ones are
older
also
ones,
hot. But now the requirement for being a good DJ is you got to look like Sonia Chu and all that. Right?
You got to look good. Cool, man. All right. And what is your one Shiok thing?
I caught a pretty awesome movie on Amazon Prime Video over the weekend. It's Black Klansman. Have you heard of it?
Heard of it.
Yeah, 5 years ago. By Spike Lee. It was nominated for Best Picture at Oscars, and Adam Driver is in it, and Denzel Washington's son is in it, right? I can't remember his name, but yeah, excellent movie, man. I can see why it was nominated for Best Picture, 5 years ago. But at the same time, it's even still relevant even today.
What's it generally about?
About a black police officer who infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan in Colorado Springs in the 70s. Yeah.
Oh, it's based on a true story.
True story. So it's pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah. My one Shiok thing is on a similar frequency of like cinematic wonder. Me and my wife started watching Singles Inferno.
Oh yeah.
Season 3 over the weekend.
Yes.
And I love it, man.
How many episodes in are you?
4.
Oh, okay, I just watched one only. I watched one.
You watched one only. Are you
the first one?
Do you watch it with your wife or not?
Yeah, I watched it with my wife.
Yeah.
I won't say I'm hooked lah.
I'm hooked, man.
But it's that kind of trashy, really turn off your brain thing.
It is. Yeah. And I tried watching season 2, but season 2 after one episode, I was like, okay, it's more of the same. The good thing about season 3 is that they've changed it up quite a bit. And I really think the biggest difference for this compared to other reality shows I've watched is that peanut gallery, right?
Oh yeah.
The panelists.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking if you take that away, and for those who haven't watched it, basically they will show the TV show, but then they will cut to this panel of people who are also watching it for the first time, and they will react and comment, and it's very entertaining,
Yeah.
And it's fun. I think I can only watch this with someone because then you can comment on what people are doing and you can argue and all that. So I really, really enjoyed the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, and a lot of plastic surgery.
Oh yeah, a lot of plastic surgery.
A lot of boobs in your face kind of
thing. Yeah. So in some way, it's almost caricatures to a certain extent, but it's very entertaining.
Entertaining.
And I find myself drawn into it, which for any show that does that, I'm like, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. I think it's a fun couple activity.
Yeah. Are you going to watch more episodes?
I will. I find like I think some of the banter between
it's quite funny.
Quite funny and not so conventionally hot guy, hot girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to y'all soon.